This is going to be a very special video. This is TJ Kirk, also known as the Amazing Atheist. He was once a very popular, prominent YouTube channel back in 2009. Now, I actually used to like TJ because he would make some funny anti-SJW and anti-feminist videos. TJ also played a small role in pushing me away from my belief in God, even though people still propagate nonsense that I'm a Christian creationist. Now, I've known for quite some time that TJ is not the most fond of me. His cute little podcast used to always do responses to my videos. He's dissed me in his own videos. I mean, it's obvious. TJ hates me almost as much as he hates showers. But finally, the moment we've all been waiting for has finally happened. TJ dropped a 30-minute video shitting all over my speech that I gave at the high school leadership summit. Now, when I first saw that he made a video on me, my first thought was,
this is bound to be horrible.
Let's get started.
This is Hunter Avallone. Full speech at HSLS. I don't know what HSLS is. I don't know what it is. But anywhere that would let Hunter Avallone do a full speech, let's hear it.
Okay, so right off the bat, we see that a 40-year-old man who still looks like he's in his steampunk phase is dissing me really hard. So let's go ahead, sit tight, and hear some of his very valid criticisms. You know, it's not hard to see that the left wants to control you.
Okay.
Control leads to power, and that is what the left
is
truly
power.
wants.
That's what power is.
Just look at how...
The ability to control. Control leads to power? No shit, Sherlock.
All right, well, so far we're off to a fantastic start, calling me out over a technicality. Great job. Liberals reacted when they lost potential power during the 2016 election.
They didn't lose potential power. They lost power.
Again, trying to roast me on technicalities. And also, TJ, what I said was correct. They did lose potential power. When the election took place, there was a potential for Democrats to have power. They lost it, therefore losing potential power. They provided safe spaces. They pretended to behead Donald Trump, curse us all with that stampede of unshowered feminists, also known as the Women's March.
So, so far all we have is like a caricature of the left. I mean, this is like if I was talking about conservatives reacting to Obama, and I was like, right now, they're in their trailer parks, drinking their beers, polishing their guns. Yeah, all right, we get it. This is an over-the-top caricature of, like, all of the worst elements of your opponents, okay? Can we get to something substantive?
TJ, the examples I gave of how the left reacted was a little bit more than just a character of the left. I'm sorry you can't just write it off that easily. Your comparison was also incorrect and didn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, sure, when Obama won, maybe there were some rednecks sitting in a trailer park angry about it. The difference is the left's protests were massive events supported by most members on the left. When Kathy Griffin beheaded Donald Trump, sure, she was met with some backlash, but she also received support from anti-Trumpers and from other Hollywood actors. An even better example is the Women's March. The Women's March was a massive event supported by celebrities across the country and the mainstream media. The event drew 500,000 to 1 million attendees. This is more than simply a character of the left. These are massive liberal protests supported by mainstream liberalism. Also, you're really one to talk about making over-the-top characters about the worst aspects of your opponents. You use that to somehow debunk what I said. Meanwhile, you do the same thing throughout this 30-minute video.
You're speaking at the high school leadership summit, right? With the big I Heart Capitalism sign on one side of you and with speakers that come out and say like, these lefties are a bunch of fucking cocksuckers, huh, kids? I know conservatives teach their kids about guns. I know they teach them about hunting and fishing and ATVs and whatever the fuck else Heartland America has a big old fucking boner for. David Snot-Nosed Hogg and his posse of liberal, evil, fuckwit, twit assholes who suck. and are fundamentally evil and wrong in all ways are totally unfair towards us conservatives.
Almost every liberal agenda, every liberal talking point can be traced back to the core goal, and even the core outcomes at times, to control. The left wants control.
That's what this whole politics thing is about. This is two factions, two different ideological factions, which encompass a bunch of smaller factions within each of them, vying for power and control. That's what politics is.
Well, you're not entirely wrong, but you're certainly not correct either. You're correct when you say in politics both sides are fighting for some level of control. However, the left is much more set on control. One of the core values supported by the right is the freedom of speech and the freedom of thought. The left, however, wants to control how someone speaks. You're not allowed to say this because it's offensive. You're not allowed to say this because it's racist. They want to control how someone thinks. If you're black, you can't vote this way. If you're black, you can't think this way. The left are always behind these massive protests to try and shut down speakers and opposing opinions. Even liberal sources can admit to this. There are many more examples of the left vying for direct control.
What are they going to make me do?
The left wants to control the youth.
You're speaking at the high school leadership summit, right? With the big I heart capitalism sign on one side of you and with speakers that come out and say like, these lefties are a bunch of fucking cocksuckers, huh, kids? And then you're saying they want to control the youth. What are you trying to do?
Well, that's a massive reach. There is a huge difference between sharing my opinion and my viewpoint and allowing the listeners to take it or leave it, and telling people that if you do not think a certain way, you are morally wrong. If you vote a certain way, you are a bad person. Plus, these kids all chose to attend this event, whereas more times than not, there's a liberal bias pushed on kids in school where they are forced to attend. To try and claim that me sharing my opinion is the same as trying to control is ludicrous and makes no sense. It's healthy to allow these students to hear other opinions, to hear my own viewpoints. No one is telling anyone how to think. I mean, by your logic, are you trying to control all of your subscribers every time you upload a video with your opinion in it? Of course not. There's also a time and a place for sharing political opinions. If a school student is sitting in class and the teacher is going off on a tangent about why Donald Trump is the worst, that seems a lot more like indoctrination or pushing a viewpoint on young people, whereas this conference was a conservative conference. Conservative students willingly attended to hear conservative speakers. There's a huge difference. I mean, I was lucky enough to be homeschooled, but you guys got it really rough. I mean, you walk into...
It's lucky enough to be homeschooled. The only chick I was able to check out at school is my mom.
TJ, let's not argue about who looks more inbred. That is a fight you will definitely lose, my friend. Stephanie over here just came out as a genderqueer, non-binary, brave little toaster.
What? Sorry, what? What's the joke? Someone came out as a toaster and they're getting applauded, but someone who gets an A is not? Is that the point?
Well, you know you're desperate when you start dissecting jokes. Obviously, TJ, people don't come out as toasters. That was a little joke meant to play into the insanity of how many gender identities there are nowadays. This was also meant to highlight the fact that many people rely on a gender identity to make up for a personality. They use gender identity to get applause, validation, or to shape who they are rather than their actual accomplishments or their character. Example of this is a YouTube channel known as Queer Kids Stuff.
Oh!
Now, if the name alone doesn't give you herpes, it creates
Keep away from me, YouTube channel that I'm perfectly capable of never watching.
Extremely liberal videos for children as young as 3 years old.
Oh, that's where he's getting
Although it only has 11,000 subscribers, it is endorsed by the Huffington Post and recently rated...
All right, so an obscure YouTube channel with 11,000 subscribers, and you're shouting it out to probably more people in the room than actually watch any of the fucking videos on it. Like, why are you giving this attention? if this was like the biggest channel on YouTube, or it was even a big channel in the first place, then maybe you could fucking try to make some kind of case against it. Maybe you could try to make some kind of case for why it's wrong or it's bad. But it's some obscure fucking channel.
The point is not the size of the channel or even the viewership. This was an example I gave of the leftist agenda to indoctrinate young children. The point was that the channel was obscure, yet being promoted by the Huffington Post. Countless Huffington Post articles all feature queer kid stuff videos. Huffington Post is a massive liberal publication with over 140 million monthly viewers. Again, my point was not the size of the channel, it was to highlight the overarching agenda that you are denying. Plus, I mean TJ, later in this video when you're discussing gun control, you say,
the vast majority of this country believes in gun control, but it can't happen because the gun lobby is too fucking powerful. It can't happen because you guys that are so pro-gun that you're stupid are a vocal minority.
So you admit that a vocal minority has a lot of influence and power. In this case, enough to decide whether gun laws should be changed or not. Yet you write off the example I gave of this channel because it's small, yet it's also considered a vocal minority. Not a lot of subscribers, but being promoted and supported by loud liberal voices. So you're willing to admit that something, despite its size, can be powerful and influential when it comes to guns, but not when it comes to indoctrinating children? If a vocal minority is powerful enough to sway gun laws by your own accord, then a small channel supported by loud liberal voices is certainly enough to support my point that there's an overarching liberal agenda. You know, if you can only further your agenda by trying to brainwash naive children, your agenda might be stupid.
Yeah, conservatives don't teach their children about the greatness of the military and the flag. I mean, we were just talking a moment ago about the Pledge of Allegiance. Every day, school kids across this country have to stand up, put their hand over their heart, stare up at a fucking flag, and recite an oath of loyalty to it. That seems more like brainwashing to me than some optional to watch YouTube channel that no one's watching.
Well, the military is what keeps us safe and protects our freedoms. There's nothing wrong with teaching your kids about the military or to respect this country and the flag. You're really reaching again. I'm talking about brainwashing, teaching 3-year-olds about being gay, non-binary, or a bunch of other things that are inappropriate for children. I never said teaching your kids standard liberal ideas was even a bad thing. I think kids should be taught to be kind, to respect all races and all sexualities. Every parent is going to share their own ideals with their child, but this is not what I was talking about in my speech. I was talking about an agenda to push far left ideals on impressionable children. Secondly, your example you gave about standing for the pledge was bullshit and not logical at all. School kids do not have to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. In 1943, the Supreme Court ruled that forcing school kids to recite the pledge or punishing them for refusing was a violation of First Amendment rights. Try fact-checking next time. David Hogg is an idiot who adamantly detests conservatives. David Hogg is now influencing young minds everywhere.
Unlike this guy up on stage who obviously is very fair-minded towards liberals, right? David Hogg detests conservatives. David Snot-Nose Hogg and his posse of liberal, evil, fuckwit, twit assholes who suck.
Is this guy off his meds again? Great job putting words in my mouth. My point was that he's a moron, made famous by liberal media because of his hatred of conservatives and our constitutional rights, therefore influencing more young minds. If someone hated on liberals, they'd be branded as alt-right by the media and forgotten. David Hogg, however, supported the overall liberal agenda, so he was made famous and influential. You seem really hung up on minor technicalities while ignoring my overall point.
Like 90% of your criticisms of the left, maybe even more, could just as easily be pointed at the right, and they just work just as easily.
TJ, even if my criticisms can be directed at the right, which I don't think they can, that does not debunk a word of what I've said about the left. That's not an argument.
It's just like you have like you have a confirmation bias, sample blindness. It's like anything that confirms my viewpoint is true, anything that contradicts it, I don't even see.
Well, that's just bullshit. One of my largest YouTube series consists of me attending liberal rallies, and although yes, I usually do some trolling at the end, the first half always consists of us going around and talking to people and hearing another opinion and having a healthy discussion. Your claim that I am blind to any outside opinions or viewpoints is not true and can be debunked by my own videos. Well, TJ, your entire video was cheap, easily debunked dribble. You rely on extreme exaggerations, you're hypocritical, and you conveniently overlook my overall point and get hung up on minor technicalities. Sorry, TJ. I wish you and your channel the best of luck. Please give this video a like, comment below, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks everyone for watching. Peace.